Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Did you know that a lack of sleep can actually shrink your brain? On the show today, Holistic Nutritionist Bob Gilpatrick and Live Forever Young Radio co-host Rollie Culp discuss the importance of sleep for your overall health and what can happen if you are not getting enough. They also share some easy-to-use tips that can help establish your evening routine and increase your sleep quality naturally. Bob and Rollie also talk about new discoveries in the world of sleep science that can make sleepless nights a thing of the past. So sit back, relax, and get ready to live forever young.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live Forever Young Radio. I'm Bob Gilpatrick. I'm here with Rollie Culp. And Rollie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Bob.
Great.
Glad to be here, man.
A great day in Tampa Bay today.
It's always a good day in Tampa Bay.
Even though we're wide awake and excited, we're going to talk about sleep.
Yes, we're going to try to bring it down a notch and talk about sleep today.
There you go. So, Rollie, it seems like more and more you hear about issues related to sleep, people not being able to sleep because of anxiety, of everything that happened in 2020.
Sure.
It's kind of bleeding over into 2021.
Yep.
And we now have 50 to 70 million people, when they do surveys, are indicating that they're having some type of a sleep problem. And as
That's
we know,
a staggering number.
Yeah, and many different things can happen to people that are negative if you're not sleeping properly.
Yeah, actually, one of the things I was reading about, I was telling you about it before the show, is a study was showing a lack of sleep can actually shrink your brain. And when you think about it, so your time to repair and relax and be down on cortisol is during your sleep time, right? So if you're not getting that time for your body to hit that relax point, then the brain is going to get overworked, and I could see how it might suck the life out of it. And I guess, I know that's not technical, but think about it. Your brain is doing so much work, and if you don't sleep and give that brain a rest, something's going to negatively affect it, and a shrinkage of the brain is on the table when that happens.
Yeah, and also it has detrimental effect on your immune system, also on your circulation, and people with diabetes have a much harder time if they're not sleeping well. It also affects your cognition. So people tend to have less focus and concentration, and they tend to have more problems with their memory.
Right, yeah, I mean,
this also.
Again, you know, if you're not sleeping, you're not going to be able to have that mental clarity that you need when you wake up in the morning. Real quick on diabetes, my dad, who we've talked about before in a prior episode, diabetes, a preventable epidemic, he has always kind of had a little bit of issues with sleep, but it's even worse when his diabetes gets a little bit out of whack, when his sugars get too high or too low. Just the fact of having diabetes will actually affect your sleep pattern. Therefore, if you have diabetes and aren't sleeping, and that's kind of a vicious cycle that you get into, because
makes your diabetes worse.
It makes it even worse.
Yeah, and also a big contributor to irritability and depression and anxiety.
Sure.
And especially for the workplace, if people are not getting enough sleep, they're not going to be able to concentrate as well. You certainly don't want to have this if you have any type of a job where there's safety involved in and dependent on your alertness.
And reaction time goes down, and obviously if you can't concentrate, you're not going to be as productive. So, you know, sleep is golden rule to making your life productive. And
there's actually studies that show that people are much more likely to die young if they have trouble sleeping. And we know for certain that it affects people's memories, because when you go to sleep at night and you get into REM sleep, you change your brainwave patterns when you go to sleep, right? So during your waking state, you have what's called splayed beta. So splayed just means you have a lot of beta, and beta is your brainwave of wakefulness.
Okay.
And delta is your brainwave of sleep, which is the furthest down. And so at nighttime, what you're trying to do is quiet down your beta waves and splay your delta waves. And there are waves in between also. And when you are going into deep sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. It creates a theta wave state in a particular part of your brain, the dentate gyrus, which then processes information that you learned during the day that was short-term memory, and whatever you deemed is necessary for survival, you are going to transport that to your long-term memory.
Okay, so that's actually key
Yeah.
for retaining it. Is
Yes.
this dentate gyrus, this process
The
with the
theta
dentate gyrus?
state there.
Wow. Okay.
So it's knowing a little bit about the brain waves, and that as we go into what to do about getting good sleep, that's some good information for you to know.
Absolutely. Wow.
So in general, what people want to be aware of is that we tend to sleep in approximately hour and a half cycles. So
Right.
kind of technically you wake up every hour and a half, but you may not know it. But your melatonin is rising and falling in these cycles. So melatonin is your hormone of your sleeping state.
Right.
Right? And serotonin is the hormone of your waking state. Now, serotonin, in the nighttime when the sun starts to go down, serotonin converts into melatonin.
Okay.
So melatonin is not a completely separate, hormone. It's actually a derivative of the neurotransmitter serotonin.
Oh, wow. No wonder why it affects depression and stuff like that.
And the sunlight is what's controlling it.
Okay.
Right? And so this is one of the things that you want to live with your biorhythms, right? So during the daytime, it's light out, and your body is being signaled by the light that it's time to be awake, and various things are going on in your body that are responding to that light.
Okay.
And then as the sun goes down, right, your brain and eyes begin to respond differently to dusk and then full dark, and you switch your brain chemistry state, and you begin to have more GABA, more melatonin, and this is a therapeutic rest and recovery, memory forming state where your body's detoxifying, resting, recovering, rebuilding, and you're getting ready for the next day.
So the light and the dark actually triggers these hormonal changes and the chemical changes in your brain?
Yes.
Yeah, so then obviously it's super, super important to get out during the day. Because if you're not outside during the day, you're not going to give that signal to the body that says, hey, we're up, we got to move, we got to do our thing.
And it's daytime. And this is in preparation for the nighttime. So if your body knows it's daytime because you made an effort to get out in the light, then it's easier to fall asleep at night.
Yeah.
Right? But you also need to pay attention to the light at nighttime, because a lot of us sit in front of the TV, in front of a computer, with our cell phones on.
I go to sleep with the TV on sometimes, and I realize I don't sleep as well when that happens.
And there's a lot of blue light being emitted from these devices, and blue light is the light of daytime. Okay, so your body doesn't know that it's nighttime if you have all these lights on. So you want to begin to wind down the blue light an hour before bedtime by turning off those devices. Or if you are going to watch TV, you need some glasses that block out the blue light. So there's a really good type of glasses called True Dark. And if you put them on, what you'll notice is that whatever was blue on the television turns to a different color when you're looking through these glasses. So it's truly blocking out the blue light. And so it's an alternative to just shutting all the light off.
Right. Obviously, you want to make sure that the blue light is minimal. Obviously, we don't drink stuff like sugary soda and caffeine after about that same time that you're winding down the blue light. Don't drink nothing sugary or caffeinated before that point, obviously. That's a simple one, but not everybody forgets that.
Yeah, and then in regard to light, also, you want to make sure your room is perfectly dark. So you want to have blackout shades that you can pull down that block all the light out from the outside. Yeah, that might be coming through the window.
Street light or something.
And then also any lights that you have in your bedroom, if you have an alarm clock with an LED light, VCR, or your television's in the bedroom and that little red light is still shining, you want to cover all those over with some type of a black cloth that you can drop over those lights so that your room is perfectly dark. It makes a really big difference when your room's totally dark.
Wow, man. I actually I would think if you covered every light, you might have a little problem navigating on your way to the bathroom in the middle of the night. But
You might. But what people can do is you can put a light that's in the hallway outside your bedroom door.
Oh,
so
okay.
most people can get out of bed, open their bedroom door, and go into the hallway. Or if your bathroom's in your bedroom, open the door and go in the bathroom. In there, it's okay to have a light on that's a night light, a small night light, but you don't want it to be blue.
Okay.
Make it a red light.
Okay.
Right? So the blue light doesn't hit you and make your body think it's time to get up, right?
Oh, never thought of that.
Yeah. So the other things are like this. You can do things to really make yourself sleepy before it's time for bed, right? And one of the things that we do for people is we give them a sleep aid that we call Good Night Formula. And what was discovered not too long ago, about 2 years ago, by a neuroscience researcher who specializes in sleep. And she was working with her clients that had very, very serious sleep disorders. And she was doing research with vitamins.
Right.
And she discovered that in order for people to fall asleep, you have to have a little bit of vitamin D3 available at nighttime, and it actually is activating your brainstem in this sequence, and it's relaxing your muscles. So some people, when they start to feel really tired at night, they'll start to feel like their feet or their hands are getting numb.
Yeah.
Well, and that's because because vitamin D is pinging your brainstem and relaxing your muscles to the point where they're almost paralyzed. Right?
Oh, wow.
And so your feet are feeling numb. They're actually being paralyzed by this vitamin D3. And it turns out that 100 international units is the magic number this researcher discovered. And that's why we put that amount into the Good Night Formula. And it also turns out there are numerous B vitamins that are necessary in specific amounts to help keep you asleep at night. And we made sure we put those in the Good Night Formula as well.
It sounds funny because most people associate B vitamins with energy, but from the research that when we were making this Good Night Formula, with research you had done, it actually shows that helps with the absorption and utilization of the natural extracts and herbs that actually help with the falling asleep part, like the melatonin and the tryptophan and things like that, and the GABA and the passion flower and all the different natural extracts and herbs that are in it. So it helps with the absorption and utilization. So it's actually a pretty good thing.
Yeah, it's really great. And the other things that people need to do is to understand how to calm your mind at night. Because in this day and age, a lot of people's minds are racing.
Very hard.
So how do you calm your racing mind and narrow your beta waves? Well, it's important to know that when your mind is racing, a part of your brain called Broca's area is lit up and very, very active. And that is what's leading to the excessive beta waves.
Do we know why they call it Broca's area?
Yes, Broca was a very famous neuroscience researcher way back in the day, 100 years ago.
Okay.
And he was the one that discovered the speech center.
Okay.
And later, subsequent scientists named it Broca's area.
Okay, so it's not the news guy, Tom Brokaw. It's the other Brokaw.
Right, the other Broca. There's actually a book that was written by Carl Sagan.
Okay.
The famous author and astronomer. He wrote a book called Brocaw's Brain.
Oh.
And it was a whole long book about neuroscience written, back in the 80s or early 90s. So the other thing is this, Rollie, in order for people to be able to relax their mind so they can fall asleep, there's a few different techniques. One is called the Ultimate Mind Calming Exercise, which people can learn to do from our YouTube channel. And the other on that YouTube channel is a technique called lymphatic drainage or manual lymphatic drainage, which helps you to learn how to speed up the flow of your lymph system, which is really good for detoxification and which is happening at nighttime. So to do lymph drainage just before bed's a really good thing. And also the more free videos on that site that are the emotional freedom technique videos. And all three of those things help to make you very tired.
Yeah,
if you use them right.
If you actually use them in conjunction, we've talked a lot about them in many previous episodes. The one that comes to mind is dealing with anxiety during trying times. It's a very good one where we talk a lot about it. But if you go to Boomers Forever Young YouTube channel, there's a playlist of helpful videos, and it will actually have them in there. You can use it. There's one, I think I interrupted you when we were talking about Brokaw's area. I don't ever think we talked about the trick to get that area to calm down.
Yes, so that's what is very, very helpful, is to practice relaxing your tongue, because Brokaw's area is connected neuronally and electromagnetically to your tongue. And when you are thinking in your brain,
Right.
okay, you actually have activity happening in your tongue, because your tongue is part of your speech.
Right.
And so when you relax your tongue, and people say, well, how do I do that? Imagine that you are clenching your fist, and your fist is very tight, and then you're going to relax it like this. You can do the same thing with your tongue. Tight, relax. It's very, very hard to stay awake when your tongue is relaxed, kind of like trying to keep your eyes open when you sneeze.
Actually,
Okay?
I just did it, and I seriously got a little
you
tired.
get a wave of tired as soon as you relax your tongue. Very good technique for falling asleep and falling back asleep. If you have to get up in the middle of the night, use the bathroom, or you wake up and you start thinking about things, turn your computer on, turn the TV on. Try relaxing your tongue first so you can go back to sleep quickly, so that you stay in that cycle of these hour and a half cycles. And you want to try to sleep about 7.5 hours.
Right. So
Okay.
time that right. And I actually have done the Brokaw thing with the tongue when I can't fall asleep, and where you tighten and relax. It works. And I'm glad we went back to that, because that's a video we don't have, that we haven't made an explanation of why it works. And maybe we won't show a video of someone's tongue, but we can at least show you, with our hands.
It's very effective and can actually be a technique that can save your life if you're having a lot of trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
Now, Rollie, there's also numerous different devices people can get for helping with sleep.
Right.
So we know that from talking with Ann Harrison, there's a device that is called PEMF,
Right.
Pulsed Electromagnetic Fields. And on the PEMF device that I have, there's a sleep cycle.
Right.
And so you're
up.
lying on a mat that's underneath your mattress pad, and you hit the sleep cycle. You set it for 7.5 hours, which is what I do, and then the machine comes on and it puts out pulsed electromagnetic fields that put you to sleep, put you into REM sleep a little bit later, and then shuts off during the middle of the night, and then goes into a waking mode a couple hours before it's time to wake up.
Nice.
And it slowly wakes you up. Very, very effective device for helping sleep. If people are having real serious problems with sleep, that's a really great thing to get.
And while I think another reason why, too, it works so well is not only does it help with sleep, but as you're sleeping, it helps with the circulation of the body and the repair process and everything, so you can wake up and feel a lot more refreshed than if you didn't have that.
And what I do is when I wake up, the machine is off, I turn it back on, put it on the circulation cycle, and I lie on it for 8 minutes in the morning to bump up my circulation for first thing in the day.
Cool.
Okay? There's another thing that we forgot to mention is exercise. So a lot of times if people have sedentary lifestyles, makes it hard to sleep. If you exercise, just naturally you're going to be able to sleep better. A couple other things. There's another device called the Fisher-Wallace stimulator, which is like a TENS machine. It's a little black box with pads that you put onto your head, wrap a headband around, turn the power on. When you start feeling a tiny tingling on your skin, you turn it back so it stops. That's the treatment threshold. Very good for helping people fall asleep. It's also FDA approved for treating depression, anxiety, and the like. And works for headaches as well.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it on our show about depression, positive mind, positive health. And not only will we have links to it there, but in this blog in the important links section, we'll have some links to the Fisher-Wallace stimulator. Maybe give you some links to our helpful videos playlist. Also, the ultimate mind calming exercise and things like that will be down there. So take a look at the bottom of the blog on Live Forever Young Radio.
Yeah. And the Inner Balance, as you mentioned.
Oh, right.
Inner Balance is also a great device for helping with sleep. It helps calm anxiety. And we've done a whole episode on the Inner Balance device as well.
Absolutely.
That people can go and see.
Yeah, go check that out. That one's a really good one too.
And then last thing I wanted to say about this, Rollie, is there's another device called Vivos, V-I-V-O-S. And Vivos is for sleep apnea. And a lot of times when people have trouble sleeping, it's because of sleep apnea. They're waking themselves up in the night because they're stopping breathing.
Don't many people not even really realize that's happening for a while?
They don't realize they have it, and sleep apnea can lead to heart attacks and strokes, and a number of very famous people have died from sleep apnea.
Oof.
Right? Now, sleep apnea, normally people think of, well, we need a CPAP, and this device over our face, and the headband, and the pump, and the whole thing, and it's a pain in the butt. Vivos is different. Vivos was created by scientists that realized that over time, humans have a more narrow palate in the top of their mouth. And they're pretty sure the reason is that when children 200-300 years ago were growing up, they chewed their food quite a bit because they didn't have liquefied baby food. And children learned to chew at an earlier age and chewed a lot. And they also breastfed for much longer. And so their facial muscles and their jaws were much stronger, and their palates were much wider, and so their throat was more open.
Okay.
And with modern days, it's not the case. Your palate is narrowed down, and you have a much smaller opening in your throat. That's why so many people have sleep apnea.
Right.
A Vivos device is like braces for your palate. And it's a little device that goes up underneath your palate, and it very gently over time spreads your palate apart. And as it spreads, your body makes its own adult stem cells. They migrate to that place, and you actually build new bone from your adult stem cells, and your palate widens out. It takes anywhere from a year to 18 months that you wear this device, and you can actually cure your sleep apnea this way, so you don't need a CPAP and you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's done by a dentist.
Yeah.
And if you just follow the link that we'll put here on the page for the Vivos website, you'll be able to get information about that.
Yeah, man. So I guess you really wouldn't have even thought about that. I mean, I remember we spoke a little bit about Vivos on another show where we were talking about, I believe it was habits to help seize the day, about sleeping better, or waking up more refreshed, and how sometimes that happens. But you wouldn't even think that something over those 200 years like that would change physically how the mouth works and the airway and everything. That's pretty good research figuring that out. That's I would never thought of that.
So I think that's about it for today, Rollie. That's the basic information that people need to know about sleep. You can always give us a call if you want any help.
Absolutely. Don't hesitate.
Your emotional freedom technique tapping. If you want to call and ask us about that, and certainly if you want some good night formula, you got questions about it, you can call and ask us about that. But,
absolutely. You can call us at 1-800-861-4609. Also, check out some information on liveforeveryoungradio.com. We've also got videos up on our YouTube, the Boomers Forever Young YouTube, about some of these different products and what's in them and kind of how they work. So don't hesitate to ask or call or even go and search online, because that's what it's there for. The more information you have, the healthier you are. So that's why we're bringing it to you.
Thanks. So thank you, Rollie, for being with us again here today.
Always, man.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to Live Forever Young Radio, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thanks for listening to Live Forever Young Radio. Check us out at liveforeveryoungradio.com.